everybody. Welcome to class. In today's class, you just need yourself, your yoga mat, your yoga space, and your Feelio Blocks. So gather all the things that you need. If you know you want something particularly for the bottom of your knees, it might be nice to have that. We'll be doing things like tabletop, downward facing dog, plank poses, things with high extension of the wrist, and a few other sneaky little things that I'm going to be putting in there. For the most part, this practice is yours. So, whenever you feel that you're going maybe a little too hard onto something, or maybe not far enough into something, this is your whole entire barometer of how you want to be on your practice here today. You can always revisit this video at a later date as you start to restructure and understand your idea and comprehension of wrist health as far as integration of the body. Yeah, so with all that being said, I look forward to practicing with you. Gather the things you need and come join me when you are ready. If you are still with me, wonderful. We're going to get started today in a child's pose. Now, I invite you to take the knees out wide, even separating through the heels, coming in more of the hips. So if you would like to do that, almost even like this idea of sending the sit bones up and back and wide and even keeping an elevation, right? Thinking more of this idea of sliding the femurs back. Either way, come into this space. And you can use your Feelio blocks as something to allow your hands to rest into the cavities, maybe around side, thinking about the different types of grip that maybe Anthony has already spoken about throughout this unit. And let's just start to ground into this space here together. As we're here, remembering that our primary job here in this practice is to bring attention into our hands. As we have often, I think all of us have taken for granted the way our hands operate and move so unconsciously, grabbing and holding and pulling on things, that if you know you've had any kind of injury or compromise in the area, you all of a sudden remember, like, wow, okay, putting my hair up used to be easy. And we start to think about the longevity of our practice, and even if we have overuse injury here into the wrists, what can we do to help with the longevity of our practice? And with this is the invitation every time we get onto the mat to increase our awareness and focus on the tiny, subtle shifts that we can make for our practice, and that can help us maybe go a long way for the longevity of our practice. This isn't just for ourselves, this is for our students alike if we are a teacher. The more we understand our practice, the more we are able to help and be of service to those around us in all ways, shapes, and forms, as we know. Taking another couple of breaths here, as perhaps your sit bones may grow heavier, your knees grow wider, even your feet can grow away from one another. You can stretch your arm bones so that your shoulders come up into your ears. There's no right or wrong here. Take up space with your body and your breath. On the next inhale, come forward, taking on hold of our handles of our Feelio blocks into a tabletop pose. Directioning our shoulders over top of our hands, knees underneath our hips, and start to just make a couple of circles within the shoulders. Noticing the squeezing of your hands onto your handles and going in the other direction. Settling back into a neutral tabletop pose. Shift the weight so predominantly most of the weight is into your hands. And then shift the weight slightly back so that predominantly most of the weight is into your knees. Almost think about growing light Think about what you would have to do if you were to just hover your blocks off the mat. No need to do it. Just think about that. Come forward, pour most of your weight, shoulders over top of hands. Push your hands just gently into the ground. Feel that connection. And then glide back onto your shin bones. And again, thinking about this action of having a looseness into the arms, more weight into the shin bones, and just notice what's happening. What's happening with our pelvis, our abdominal wall, our rib cage. Lots of things can happen here. Come forward, final one. Pour the weight in through your hands. Squeeze your hands around your handles. Come back. Hover the sit bones over top of the heels. Lengthen the tailbone down. Draw the pubic bone towards your sternum. Have a small round. Feel almost like a separation growing in through the scapulas. Take an inhale here. And then exhale out the mouth, slow and steady, and allow the sternum to come towards the space behind you. Come forward, tabletop pose. Inhale, pull the heart forward, think cow pose. Exhale, push the ground down and away, shoulders over top of wrists. Bow the brain down towards the floor. Inhale, come forward, roll the shoulders onto the back body, cow. Big exhale, dome and round, shoulders lean a little bit more far forward as pubic bone comes towards sternum. Last time, big and strong here, roll shoulders onto the back body. Feel your hands around your handles. Exhale, push down and away. Come forward into a neutral tabletop pose. Go ahead and tuck all 10 of your toes. Keep a neutral spine. Pull the sternum away from the floor and then hover your knees off of the floor. Have a bend into your elbows. Glide the sit bones up and back, downward facing dog. Inhale to the height of the toes. Bend the knees. Roll forward, plank pose. Just to bend the knees, glide back into downward facing dog. Height of the toes, bend the knees, bend the elbows, hover the knees, hovering tabletop. Lower the knees. Inhale, pull the heart forward. Exhale, cat. Inhale, back to neutral, toes tucked. Bend the elbows, hover the knees. Glide back, downward facing dog, adjusting your feet as needed. Roll the body forward in space, coming into a plank pose. Bend the knees, shift the weight back into our downward facing dog. Height of the toes, bend the knees, hovering tabletop. Lower the knees. Heart pulls through, cow. Exhale, round for cat. Back to neutral. Hover the knees. Downward facing dog. Height of the toes, bend the knees. Roll forward, plank pose. Final time here. Bend the knees, press back, downward facing dog. Height of the toes, bend the knees, hovering tabletop. Lower down. Inhale, heart pulls through, cow pose. Exhale, dome and round for cat. Back to neutral positioning with our tabletop. And go ahead and settle your torso over top of your hips. Toes can be tucked or untucked. Lengthen the tailbone. Take a glass clasp of your hands at your sacrum, so at the lower part of your back. And if that's unavailable for you right now because of any kind of wrist and forearm situation going on, feel free to pick up the mat from behind you and go ahead and start to pull away onto the mat. We're thinking of drawing the scapulas together and lifting up from the sternum. Gentle release. Hands come to the knees. Cat the spine. Press the back of the heart back. Take an inhale here in a small rounding position. And then that exhale out the mouth to pull the sternum between the scapulas. Inhale here, circle those arms up towards the sky. Exhale, squeeze the elbows towards the hips. Take your hands behind you, either clasp opposite thumb on top or go back and reach with your hands onto the mat and pull away onto the mat, lifting up from the sternum. Release. Great. Come forward. Moment here of integration into the system. Take your blocks to the outer space around your thighs. Inhale, pull your heart through. Exhale, push dome and round. Knees chase collarbones. Keep the knees in front of the biceps. Lift it up. Have a catting of the spine and the sit bones stay low. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Soften the knees down. Keep your hands onto your blocks. Inhale, arms up towards the sky with the blocks. Exhale, elbows to hips. Squeeze gently onto the back body. Place your blocks now behind you in any degree. Maybe face the blocks out towards the sides. Walk them back as you kind of weight your sit bones in towards your heels. Roll the scapulas onto the back body, and any degree, lift up through the hips. 3 full breaths here into this posture. Whatever the shape may look like for you. One more breath. Gently release. Walk your blocks, literally walk your blocks to the top of the mat. Almost in the child's pose position. And then go ahead and start to walk your blocks to the back of the mat. Keep walking. Doot, doot, doot. And we'll go back to the front. Keep the blocks somewhat parallel to the long side of our mat. And as we get here, turn the blocks out maybe into a little V. And grip onto the blocks. Walk them, pushing and reaching all the way. And come back forward. Great. As we're here, settle your blocks so that the thin side is parallel to the top of your mat. Go ahead and tuck your toes. Glide your sit bones up and back into downward facing dog. Adjust your feet. Allow this dog to be a little bit exploratory as we maybe pedal it out. Notice the bending of the knees and the shifting of the weight back to notice how we can shift the weight more into the balls of the feet and then maybe come forward with the shoulders slightly over the wrists where more tension and pressure comes in through our hands. And so just play with that measure of I can feel more weight into my feet and I can feel more weight into my hands. And then find a space in between. Inhale, right leg up high to the sky. Exhale, come forward, right knee, left tricep. Extend it back, right knee up towards the sky. Right knee, right tricep. Extend it back, right knee up. Right foot, big circle comes out to the outer part of your right foot. Lower left knee. Keep your hand onto your right block. Sweep it on up into a low lizard lunge. Close off this. Torso over top of right thigh. Lift left knee. Bow the torso back in space into some variation of high stance pyramid pose. Maybe the blocks stay hovered. Left hand plants big circle with the right hand into a twisted high lunge. Left knee off the ground. Circle the right block forward, back, and away. Hover both blocks off of the ground. Come into a double bent knee lunge. Blocks up overhead. Extend the left leg any degree. Plant the blocks down onto the ground. Step the right leg back. Plank pose. Take a small little push-up. Lower the knees back into our plank or our tabletop position. Send the sit bones back. Look forward. Come forward into some variation of a heart opener pose. Glide back, downward facing dog. Other side, left leg up. Left knee, right tricep. Extend it up and back. Left knee, left tricep. Extend it up and back. Left knee all the way out outside of the block. Lower right knee down onto the ground. Take a big circle with the left arm. Open up. Reach the left arm forward as you pick the right knee up. Work the left leg towards straight. Balance challenge, maybe picking up through the blocks. Right block comes back down towards the ground. Big circle with the left block. Right knee stays lifted. Twist. Close it back off. Torso hovers over left thigh. Hover through the blocks. Shoulders over top of hips as you bend the right knee. Blocks up overhead. Squeeze through the right glute and extend through the back of the right leg. Hinge forward. Blocks come down towards the ground. Step the left leg back and roll forward into a plank pose. Small baby push-up. Lower the knees. Sit bones back in space. Look forward. Pull yourself forward into some variation of a heart opener. Glide the sit bones up and back. Downward facing dog. Right leg lifts. Right knee crosses the body to the left tricep. Push it back. Extend. Right knee, right tricep. Push it back. Extend. Bend the right knee. Big circle wide. Right toes up to right pinky. Lower left knee. Big circle with the right block. Circle forward, lift left knee. High stance pyramid pose. Work an extension in through the right knee. Bow the torso. Left block comes towards the ground. Right arm, big circle. Left knee stays lifted. Spin and rotate. Re-square off. Hover both blocks. Torso over right thigh. Bend left knee. Shoulders over top of hips. Sink the hips low. Blocks up overhead. Squeeze left glute. Work the left leg towards straight. Hinge the torso over top of the right thigh. Press yourself back. Downward facing dog. Roll forward. Plank pose. Knees up or down. Small bend into the elbows and lift up. Both knees come towards the ground. Sit bones back in space. Look forward. Pull yourself forward in space. Opening up through the body. Press back. Downward facing dog. Left leg rises. Exhale takes the knee across the body. Extend it back. Left knee, left tricep. Extend it back. Flirt with variation as you swirl the left leg to the top of the mat. Lower right knee, big circle with the left arm, big and wide. Close the body off in space. Right knee rises, torso over left thigh, bow. Right hand comes back down towards the ground. Right knee stays lifted, big circle with the left arm, right shoulder onto the back body. Re-square down. Root through the left leg. Keep the sit bones low. Hover the blocks. Bend right knee. Torso over top of hips. Sink low. Extend the blocks up overhead. Extend the back leg any degree. Squeeze through the glute. Bring the blocks down towards the ground. Push and send the left leg back. Downward facing dog. Roll forward, plank pose. Knees up, knees down. Small bend and extend. Lower both knees. Look forward. Pull the torso forward in space. Press back. Downward facing dog. Right leg rises. right knee, left tricep. Extend it back. Right knee, right tricep. Extend it back. Big circle, right foot to the top of the mat. Left knee lands, right arm up and over. Some variation, high stance pyramid pose. Left block lands, big circle with the right arm, left knee stays lifted. Re-square it off. Hover the blocks around your right foot. Bend the left knee. Sit bones stay low as you rise the torso over top of the hips. Arms come up, extend through the back leg, squeeze the left glute. Hands come down to the ground, send your right foot back, downward facing dog. Roll the torso forward in space, bend the elbows. Extend any degree, lower the knees, look forward. Feel space in the back of the heart as you pull yourself forward, lifting out, extending back. Last time on the left side, left leg rises, left knee goes to right tricep. Extend it back. Left knee comes to the left tricep. Extend it back. Big circle with the left foot to the top of the mat. Right knee lowers. Circle with the left arm. Right shoulder onto the back body. Pull forward in space. Torso over top of left thigh. Any degree. Sit bones back. Left leg sort of extends. Right hand down. Right knee stays lifted. Big circle with the left arm. Re-square it off, only to hover the blocks around your foot. Bend your right knee. Stay low and rooted. Shoulders over top of hips. Arms reach up. Extend back leg. Lower hands down to the ground. Send your sit bones up and back. Downward facing dog. Roll forward. Plank pose. Knees up, knees down. Bend and extend through the arms. Lower knees. Push back. Look forward. Bow the brain. Roll forward into some variation of heart opener. Press back, downward facing dog. Lower the knees. Sit back, child's pose. Release your hands from your blocks, palms face up. Supination through your hands. With your forearms resting onto your blocks, have a moment here. And now gently roll your hands down to the ground. Reach your thumbs in front of your blocks and come into the pronation aspect. Supination, roll the palms up towards the sky. And pronation, thumbs down towards the ground. One more time for supination. Roll open. And then come back into pronation. Take your hands around your blocks. Pull yourself all the way up, shoulders over top of hips. Have a moment here, just holding and taking a look at your palms. Maybe you've noticed almost like the color of them turns red. Take your palms, press your palms in towards one another. Press your pointer finger mound, your pinky mound, quadrant 4, and your thumb mound in towards one another. Gentle pressure of your fingertips press in towards one another. And now here, just start to smear your hands in towards one another, thinking about that space in your palm lifting up and away from one another. Fold your hands. Extend through your fingertips, release. Pressure gliding over all 4 quadrants as you create some sort of level of suction in between your hands and hold. 2 more times towards the left and towards the right. Your journey, your connection. Gazing at your hands, feeling the subtle nuances. And when you're done, gently release. Palms face up. Palms face down onto your thighs. Come forward, hands onto your blocks, downward facing dog. Slowly tiptoe your toes to the top of the mat, feet in between the hands. Lower the heels, bend the knees deeply as your torso comes onto your thighs, and then pull your torso forward so you can kind of almost lengthen your rib cage towards your knees. Now send your sit bones up towards the sky and fold. If Padahastasana is in your practice, slide both the right and the left hand underneath the soles of your feet. Gently pull up and then bend your elbows so the elbow tips come towards your shin bones. Knees can be bent any degree here in order to slide your hands underneath. And if it works better for you to do one hand and then the other hand, continue this journey for yourself. Consider what you would need to do with your legs and taking this more out of the backs of the legs and more into your wrists. The awareness, right? Release both hands from the soles of your feet. Widen your feet hips distance. Weight your sit bones down towards the ground and roll through the spine all the way up to stand. Big circle with the arms up towards the sky. Clasp your hands in towards one another. Feel the connection and the palms come to touch. Any variation. Palms through heart center. Really clasp your hands around one another as if you're kind of holding a dear friend. Take an inhale here. And exhale, set the sit bones back in space. Press your palms out away from one another, coming into a variation of chair pose. Dive down, palms down towards the ground. Forward fold. Bring your palms to your shin bones and then send your heart forward in space, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Bend into the knees, roll through the back of the spine, keep the clasping of your hands, draw through the midline, and reach your arms up as you power through the legs. Release your hands and bring them out to the side. Palms come back into the heart space. Slide your hands one finger over, clasp. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, sit bones back in space. Sit bones and hands grow away from one another, torso onto the thighs. Hands come down towards the ground, fold. Hands come to shin bones, release your crown of the head forward. Fold back down. Bend into the knees, roll gently, back of the heart leads. Pull your hands up through your midline. Reach them up towards the sky. Power through your legs and squeeze through your glutes. Release your hands out to the side and towards one another. Inhale, just regular circle sweep. Exhale, send your hands forward, sit bones back in space, that squatting chair. Hands come down to your blocks. Move them forward in space so that we can peel our heels away from the ground. Pull the ankle bones in towards one another. Feet can be still hips distance or together. Drop your sit bones coming down towards your heels. And now pull your knees so that they're parallel to the ground. So you can feel maybe a stretch in the back of the calves. As we're here, gentle pressure of your hands around your dowel rods. And now slide your knees up into your arm space, armpits, and kind of lift your heels away from the ground. Drop your knees. Thinking about here, sending your knees gently forward and thigh bones parallel. One more time, just like this. The motion can be big or small into your body. Pull, lift the heels away from the ground. Sit bones stay heavy and low. And now draw the knees forward, thighs parallel. Wonderful. Pick up through the blocks. Reach the blocks forward in space. Lower the sit bones. Blocks come behind you, any degree. They can be parallel. They can also be in more of a V. Plant your feet. Lift your sit bones up any degree. Reverse tabletop position. Lower back down. Pick the right knee up. Pull it into your chest. Kick it out in front of you. Lower the right foot. Left foot stays where it is. Lift up and lower. Pick the right foot up. Place it onto the ground. Squeeze left knee in towards the chest. Kick it out. Lower it. Press down through the left heel. Right foot. Lift up and lower. With this, listen closely. We'll spin the block to the back of the mat. Pick up through the right block. Gently, here, press down through the left heel. Lift up through the sit bones into like a Vashisthasana, wild thing type of variation. Now, watch closely. Right block comes down towards the ground. We'll pivot all 10 toes. We'll crisscross at the back or at the top of the mat and readjust yourself into a crisscross downward facing dog. Excellent, excellent here. Press the sit bones up back in space. Your right leg should be behind the left. Come up high onto both tippy toes. Curl right heel in towards the sit bone. So you're in a crisscrossed downward facing dog with the right heel lifted. Bend deeply into both legs. Kick both legs straight. Right leg reaches up towards the sky. Right foot comes forward as the right knee taps the left tricep. Pause and hold. Extend the right leg out. Fallen triangle. Left arm picks up. Use the block. Press down through your right hand. Lower your sit bones. Re-square your torso so that you're at the front of the mat. Both toes forward and pull your blocks in towards one another. Great. Blocks come out behind you. Pull left foot in. Press down through your right heel. Lift up through the sit bones. Lower it back down. Adjust your right block. Lift the left hand. Lift everything up. Lower just a little bit so you can lower the left block down towards the ground. Pivot all 10 toes and adjust yourself so that the left leg is behind the right. Crisscross downward facing dog facing the back of the mat. Curl left heel in towards the sit bone. Both knees bend. We'll get this. Extend left leg, right leg up towards the sky. Cross the body with the left knee towards the right tricep. Extend left leg. Lift up into our fallen triangle. Lower sit bones down towards the ground. And then curl everything back in. Bend in through the elbows. Wonderful. Blocks come back behind you. Right foot plants this time. Press down through the left heel. Lift up. Lower it down. Adjust the block. Press the right block up towards the sky. Lift it up. Look down at the ground. Big circle with the blocks. All 10 toes now face the back of the mat. Right leg behind the left. Curl right heel in towards the sit bone. Extend right leg up. Right knee crosses the body. Extend right leg, lift up, fall in triangle. Press, slide, sit down. Pivot towards the front of the mat. Staff pose, Dandasana roughly. Bend the elbows. Great. Take your blocks behind you. Pick the left leg up. Plant the sole of the left foot. Rise up. Lower. Adjust your right block. Big circle. Lift up. Look down. Adjust your hands as needed. Left foot behind the right. Curl left heel in. Bend both knees. Kick and extend. Left knee to the right tricep. Press it out. Fall in triangle. Sit the sit bones down in space. Come back into Dandasana. Hands plant behind you. Last time this round, plant the right foot. Lift up, reverse, lower, adjust left block. Press the left leg strong, rise up. Big circle with the right arm. Pivot, right leg behind the left. Walk your blocks. Curl right heel in, bend both legs. Extend right leg out, right knee crosses the body into a fallen triangle. Power push through the right arm, lower the sit bones. Pivot towards the front of the mat, bend both elbows. Take the blocks behind you. Left heel curls in, press, lift up. Lower down, adjust right block. Right leg strong as you open up through the body. Look down, pivot all 10 toes towards the back of the mat. Walk your blocks. Curl left heel in, bend, kick it up. Cross the body, left leg to the right tricep, extend it out. Lower it down. And Dandasana to the front of the mat. Extend both legs. And all we'll do here is kind of this push and reach with alternate arms as the leg and arms plug. I'm not going to try and overly complicate the cue here because I think it starts to make sense as you walk forward and then walk backwards. Plug, 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 plug. Go all the way to the back of the mat. Now bring a little bit more mindful movement. Push and reach, 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 push and reach. Walk yourself all the way to the top of the mat. Coming at Dandasana here. Take your blocks at your sit bones and gently roll onto the back body. Allow the back of the head to now press in through the floor and have a moment here with your hands just resting onto your blocks. Bring your right leg up towards the sky. Ecstatic your toes. Cross your right leg so that it's now reaching towards the top left corner of your mat. You can keep the left leg down, or you can hover it, stretching the left leg over to the right side of your mat, squeezing the inner thighs towards one another. Take your blocks, grab onto your handles, press them up towards the sky. Come forward on an exhale, and gently start to press your blocks forward as your inner thighs are squeezing towards one another and feet in opposite directions. We are here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, listen, keep the crossing of the legs. Curl the left heel behind the right, kind of like our downward facing dog. Rock back, rock forward, rock over to the shin bones. So we're kind of in this little interesting primal squat. If you need to adjust yourself, please feel free to do so. Root through the right leg, sneak the left leg behind the right. And now all we really do here is lift up from our blocks and then pivot so that the right toes are going towards the top left corner of the mat and the left leg is stretching towards the back right corner of your mat. Bend the right knee a lot into a bent knee warrior 3 variation. Stretch the left toes all the way to the back right corner and windmill out into a warrior 2. Bend both elbows. So take up a different amount of space here on your mat. Readjust. Have your torso open. Bring your blocks into prayer positioning, right? If you were to be prayed. So press the blocks in towards one another. And now pivot your torso over top of your right thigh. Lean off back into this warrior 3 position. Bend into your right knee a lot. Extend through your right leg. Stretch left toes all the way back into starting position. Re-square the torso, warrior two. Heating up through our legs. Torso over the right leg. Peel, lift, right? Extend through the right leg. Squeeze left glute. Bend, reach left toes. Warrior two. Final time. Rotate, lean, peel left toes, up. Extend right leg, bend right leg. Left toes stretch towards the back of the mat. Warrior two, just to roll all the way down into a seated Skandasana. Okay? If you needed a little help along the way, don't worry about it. I feel you. We can talk a lot about the counterbalancing and what's happening with the blocks as we go through this motion. So if you feel a little challenged, don't worry about that. That is actually exciting. So left knee is up towards the sky. We'll gently lower the left knee down towards the ground and then kind of bend in through the right knee. Do a 90-90 with both legs. And all we're going to do is drop the left shoulder to the left knee. Have both feet flexed. Drop it down and squeeze. Drop it down and squeeze. I'm talking about squeezing the left side body and squeeze. Drop it down and squeeze. Kick the left leg out towards the side, all the way back, and walk yourself back up into starting position. Wonderful. Blocks can come towards your side, or you can create the counterbalance. Bend, reach down. Left leg up towards the sky. We are on the other side. Ecstatic your left toes. You can hover your right foot, or you can keep it onto the ground. Either way, it sneaks over to the left side of the mat. Left toes reach towards the top right. Take an inhale here. Exhale, head, neck, and shoulders lift. Squeezing our thighs towards one another. And begin our pulsing. For 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back. Roll over both legs. Adjust yourself. Now, left toes are going to face the top right corner of your mat. Adjust yourself as needed to pull the right knee behind the left. Hover the blocks. Kick your right leg out behind you and have a bend into the left knee. So we're in like a bent knee warrior three. Stretch your right toes all the way to the back of the mat and pivot yourself open into a warrior two. Use a moment to reintegrate your feet onto the ground. This is where we get to charge through the legs. So pivot your torso to hover over the left thigh. Lean the weight out. Shift the weight from the right foot to the left foot. Up we go, bent knee warrior three. Extend through the left leg. Bend in through the left leg. And send your right toes to the back of the mat. Open the torso up. Reposition. Lean out. Pull and lift your right leg up. Extend through the left leg. Rebend. Right toes stretch. Open it up. Final time here. Pivot. Rotate. Bent knee warrior three. Extend through the left leg. Bend. Right toes to the back of the mat. Just to kind of pivot you all the way down into this seated position. Right knee will fall towards the midline as the left knee bends. Keep the prayer positioning of your blocks and curl the right shoulder down to squeeze. Curl down, squeeze right side body as if your right knee and right shoulder could kiss, and squeeze. And squeeze. Great. Keep the torso lifted. Pick up through the right leg. Mindful kick out towards the side. Walk the right leg forward. Reintegrate yourself onto the mat. However this would be, you can use your blocks to walk you. Great. Push your blocks forward, lower it down. Right leg up. Do something with your toes. Crisscross. One pulse forward. Rock and roll. Roll over the shin bones. Right foot plants immediately into our bent knee warrior three. Left toes to the side of the mat. Some variation of our warrior two. Pivot torso. Lift off. Right knee stays bent into a bent knee warrior three variation. I don't care what the hips are doing. I want you to just play with this space as you extend the right leg. Left toes stretch all the way to the back of the mat just to help us lower to a seat. Internal rotation, zigzag of the legs. One drop of the left shoulder. Then extend the left leg forward and walk yourself back up to your mat. Push, reach, lower. Left toes up, jazz. Left toes cross over the right. One, reach and push. Curl in, roll over, left toes plant. Boo, that 45-degree angle. Immediately coming into our bent knee warrior three. Right toes to the back left corner, warrior two. One pivot, roll back over, bent knee warrior three. Give space for that extension of the left leg. Bend deeper into the left knee, right toes to the back of the mat. Come back, lower down to a seat. Right knee down towards the ground, scissor. One drop of the right shoulder down. Wonderful. Pick mindful movements as you reposition yourself. One more time, we're adding on one thing. Send it back. Right knee lifts, right leg lifts, pardon me. Crisscross. Push and reach. Create a little momentum. Roll forward. Right foot plants into our bent knee warrior three. Left toes to the right side of the mat. Warrior two. Pause. Stay here. Adjust yourself. Root through your legs. Left block comes to the left hip. Punch the right arm up towards the sky. Grow long through the side body. Great. Use this momentum. Find some new transition to pivot your torso to parallel to your right thigh as we come back into our warrior three bent knee position. Extend through your right leg. Squeeze and lift the left leg up a little bit higher. Don't worry. Pause. Curl the left heel. That's the lifted heel up. Curl it as you bend the left knee. Tap the left knee right behind the right into a curtsy squat. Rise up into the left knee into the chest. Take an inhale here. Exhale, extend both the left leg and arms away from the vessel in any degree. Squeeze right glute. I know the right leg's burning. Curl it back in. Hinge the torso forward, left knee tucks behind the right. Big kick of the left leg all the way to the back right corner. Starting position we go. Back down to our Skandasana, lower to a seat. Pivot, 90-90. Drop left shoulder. Beautiful. Pick it back up. Pick left leg up. Walk. Doot, 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 doot. Push forward. Lower it down. Left leg rises. Last time. Cross. Squeeze. Push, round and reach. Create momentum to roll. Left foot plants. Extend right leg. Bent knee warrior three. Stretch it all the way back. Warrior two. Remember, pause here. Adjust, root through your legs. Block comes to the back of the right hip. This is to remind us to squeeze right glute. Bend deeper into the left foot, left knee, and send the block up towards the sky. New variation with the arms. I don't care what it means. Take it around town, possibly. Torso over top of left thigh. Bent knee warrior three. Extend through the left leg. Squeeze the right glute, pause. Curl right heel in. Bend the right knee. Right knee taps behind the left. Push through the left leg, right knee into chest. Power push, everything reaches away from the midline. Curl, bring everything back in. Hinge the torso. Right knee sneaks behind the left. Beautiful. Back into starting position. Kick the right toes out. Big circle all the way down through our Skandasana to a seat. Drop right knee. Scissor. Boop. Right shoulder towards right knee. Pick right leg up all the way. Walk the body forward in space. Wonderful. Back into our Dandasana position. All right. Bend both knees. Plant the feet at standing position. Blocks come behind you. Try whatever variation you would like. Squeeze elbow tips towards one another. Find a nice rooted sensation. Lift up through the hips. Squeeze through the glutes. Now, push through the hands. Rock and roll. Do whatever you can do. Keep the sit bones lifted and extend through the legs. Rebend, lift up, squeeze through the glutes. Pause and sit down. Okay. If you were like, I don't like where my hands are, let's retry that. So you can take your hands out to the side to create a little different amount of shape and space. What can we do different in this posture to help us? I know there's not a lot of space to keep our hips lifted, but we have a little bit more because of the Feelio blocks and the positioning of our wrists. I can hardly do this without these blocks. So, heels dig. Try a different position with the hands or the same. Prepare yourself. Drive through the heels. Lift up through the sit bones. Push your hands through and mindful movements. Keep the pressure of your heels. Maybe glide your sit bones back in space. Come forward. Lift up. Keep lifted. Shift the weight into the left foot. Draw the right knee in towards the chest. Kick it out in front of you. Lower it down. Lower through the sit bones. Left knee stays bent and lifted. Take an inhale. Pivot the left hand onto the floor, and all we'll do, big circle with the right arm, little variation this time as the left knee stays bent and the right leg extended, so opposite side we did before. Lower back down, right hand plants, bend both knees, push, lift up, glide the sit bones back in space. If you decide this is not a good position for your hands, move and adjust. Come back in, reverse tabletop. Push through the right foot, draw the left knee into chest, kick it out. Extend it back, lower the left foot down onto the ground, right knee stays lifted. Right block becomes your support. Push down, rise, lift up. Lower down. Beautiful. Extend. We'll rock and roll however you would like and come to a squat. Now, you can release your hands. They're so warm and delicious. I love it. We will play with this idea of, Patrick Beach calls it circle wheel, or circle chair. No, circle wheel. We're just going to do half and half. It plays a lot with what we've been working on here. So you don't have to have blocks in both hands. You don't have to use the blocks at all. I do invite you to try it. We'll take 3 one way and 3 another way, or you just try as many as you want, more or less, slower or faster. I don't care what your feet are doing or your knees are doing. This is what it will look like somewhat. I'm going to use both blocks. I'm going to start to walk myself towards the back of the mat. I'm going to choose this positioning with my left hand. I'm going to lift up. I'm going to lower, and then I'm just going to carry the momentum to the other side and lift up. Okay? Maybe you're reaching a little bit farther back each time. You're using the weight of the blocks. All right. Come forward. Lower through your blocks. Leave them be. Weight through the heels. Rise up to a stand. Take your hands towards one another And gently press your heels of your hands in towards one another like we've done with Anthony up to this point. Finger pats, heels of the hands away from one another. Allow the sensation to bring us back into our body. Heel of the hand, finger pats. Heel of the hand, maybe both, heel of the hand and finger pats. Great. Gently soften. Curl your hands. Clasp your hands around one another. Gently hold your hands. Take this moment in time and space to acknowledge the work and the heat that's been created into your arms. Repivot and clasp the opposite direction. Release your hands. Put your palms down to your sides. All right. Now, if you have a wall, I suggest you use the wall. So let's pull our mat towards the wall, just so that you can have yourself in space. If you do not have the wall, unless you've done it with the blocks yet, wheel pose, if you're doing wheel pose, then no, you know that it's a little nuanced. But I do want to provide a little bit of space for opening up. But before that, let's do just a little bit of a flow. Not a big deal. We're just going to get into some quad stretch and a little bit of hamstring engagement. Okay? So come to the top of the mat. And if you're like, I don't have a wall, I don't know what to do, just relax. We're all right. We're all here together. And it might actually find that if wheel pose is something that's hard for you, traditionally, after using your blocks up to this point, you may feel a little bit more prepared. All right? So, and if you don't feel like doing that today, that is totally fine. All right, from where we are at, go ahead and just send the right foot back. Drop the right knee down towards the ground. Go ahead and you can either have your hands onto the blocks or you can have your fingers tensioned out in front of you and gently just bring your torso forward. Bend your left knee a lot, send your left knee past your toes. If you would like to bring challenge into the legs, you can lift your right leg up and squeeze through the glute, keeping the hips low. With this, we'll send the sit bones back, bend the right knee, work the left leg towards straight, curl the left toes off of the ground. Bend the right knee even more. Reach your hands forward, and then draw the left heel back in space. And think about even lifting the left foot up, but don't. Lower the right knee down, replant the left foot. Left arm back strokes all the way back. Grab a hold of your back foot, whether with a strap or with your hand. You can go ahead if you want to drop your left shoulder in. We're looking for sensation at the right hip crease. So wherever you need to do to kind of find that, maybe that's walking your left foot forward. Maybe that's even changing the pose altogether. Sometimes I like to take a block onto level 3, place it here, and grab onto the back of my foot here. But that's not really giving me the sensation I'm seeking right now. So I'm going to come back into this. Great. Take your left fingers behind your right heel. Press your right heel into your fingers, fingers into your heel. Release. Step your left foot back, downward facing dog. Roll forward, bend into the elbows, lower all the way down to your belly. Now I'm going to take my blocks out wider than my mat, charge through the legs, and we'll create a couple of waves of funky cobra here. Lift up on the final wave of Funky Cobra, squeeze your back body, and all I want you to do is imagine what you would need to do if you were to keep this height and pick up your blocks, but do not pick up your blocks. Okay? Just what would you have to do? A lot. Lower. Readjust your blocks. Press back. Downward facing dog. Widen your feet as wide as your mat. Tailbone lifts. Bend through the knees. Look forward. This little weird squat variation. Keep the heart lifted and the chin lifted forward. Step the torso forward in space. Release your hands. Come all the way up to a stand. Wonderful job. Plug the left leg bone. Left leg goes back in space. Walk your right foot out into that lizard variation. Pull the torso forward. Bend the right knee a lot. Again, if you want to charge the legs and play with this kind of pulling in opposite directions, lift left knee, squeeze left quad. Keep hips low. Sit bones go back in space. Left knee bends, right leg extends, peel toes off of the ground. Come forward, right foot plants, lower left knee, some variation of a quad stretch, right arm swims back. Release. Keep your left heel as it is. Plug, 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 and push, push, push. Right hand onto left heel. Release. Hands find the blocks. Step your right leg back. Downward facing dog. Roll forward. Lower all the way to the belly. Now here, swim the arms back behind you. Lift back body up. Locust pose for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lower or bend the knees, grab back, kick the feet into bow pose. Gentle release. Roll up, press your hands in through the floor, and send your feet out in front of you into Dandasana yet again. All right, if you're with me, please feel free to watch this round. I'm going to take my Feelio blocks and place them up against the wall. Why am I doing this is because these blocks, and we've talked about it a little bit thus far, can slip. Any block, any prop can slip. And when we're coming into a space like a Vardhanurasana wheel pose, we want to have as much support into our foundation as possible. We will talk a little bit about props here, but just as a little side note right here, if you're working on a cork mat, this is going to be very challenging for you in things like plank pose and any kind of like arm positioning that we are pushing our hands into these blocks. So having some sort of structure of maybe spraying water onto fabric or onto the cork block or onto the cork mat, that may be helpful. I don't want to talk too much about this, but there are some things that we can do and that we should know about our props and how we use them, whether that be the type of mat that we decide and that we choose. We're using a towel on top of it. Are we pulling our leggings up over our toes or not? Things like that. But all right, before I digress, if we're moving into Vardhanurasana, pose with me here. Now, there is another variation, but I'm not going to get into that today. I will come down on wheel pose prep. And what I will do is I'm gently going to take my hands, so palm face me. Don't follow along just quite yet if this is the first time you're seeing this. And what I will do here is I'm going to notice that basically the okay sign of my pointer finger and my thumb is really going to be my really strongest connection. So when I get up, then I'll be able to rotate more into where the handle rides on that functioning grip. But that's my mobility and with my wrists. So you may feel like, oh, I'm a firm foundation. But if you are like me and you're like, I'm only making the okay sign barely, then, we're all in the same boat. And it's going to be the same way. I do invite you to create a little bit of space here, okay? Especially if this is the first time you're doing this. Feet right into the ground, pick up through the hips, pull elbow tips in towards one another, and a gentle press of the blocks into the wall to roll up onto the crown of our head. Reintegrate, plug your arm bones in, and lift up. Now, that's the first bit. If you were like, Erin, I am not there right now, go ahead and take a couple of variations of bridge pose. Okay, we're taking 3 heart openers. We will breathe at least 5 breaths in each one, 5 to 7. You can opt out, join in, and this is just part of a process I am offering right here. Okay, symbol around your handle. Elbows draw in, root through the feet. You can take them a little bit farther away to create a little bit more space for yourself. Elbows up, lift sit bones up. Weight through the feet, lift up, readjust. Push, power, arrive. 5 breaths. Gently lower. Release your hands, a small circle with your hands. Repeat. Okay, symbol, create space. Maybe walk your heels in a little bit closer. Elbows pull in towards one another, lift up. Power push, rise. Slowly lower. Take a second here just to let your shoulders and hands breathe. Small, gentle rolls. Last and final time here. Okay, symbol. Push through your feet, lift up through your sit bones. Roll. Come off. Two more breaths if you have it. Your journey out of your heart opener. Rest wherever you are. Just taking a moment in time for yourself. Noticing what kind of space that felt like. Rock and roll gently up to a seat. Starting with the right foot. Flex your right foot. Now you can come to fire log pose here if you would like. Or you can stretch your left leg behind you into pigeon pose. You can always use our blocks if you would like to here. Come back up. And now the left leg's behind you. Scoot onto your right shin and send it behind you. Drop both forearms down to the ground. You can take your hands and place them along the side, or come into a headstand or dolphin variation, or head down, downward facing dog. There are lots of things. All I'm asking you to do is to kind of come back in towards the midline. Since the left leg was behind you, and if you would like to hop up, you can hop up here, left leg reaching, right leg bends, stay closer towards the midline with the right thigh. Lower right leg, lower left leg. Switching sides, left shin forward, right leg back in space, coming into your variation of pigeon. When you're ready, stretch your body up. Roll onto your left hip, sink your left leg behind you. Lower through your forearms, grab onto your block. Tuck the toes, keep the left thigh glowing in, right leg up. Pop off. Again, any kind of dolphin pose or head down, downward facing dog, or headstand is completely suitable. Lower the left leg, right leg lowers. Gently come onto your back body, bringing your blocks with you. Take your blocks up to level 3 on either side of your hips. Extend your left leg, pull your right knee in towards your chest, give it a nice little squeeze, and gently scoot your hips up and over towards the right. We're coming into a spinal twist, but I'd like you to try to extend your right leg and use the position of your block to help as a lift it up, help as a pillow or a stage. It's a stage for your right shin bone. That's lovely. Who knew? I think that your right shin bone is probably walking out all embarrassed, like, I never knew I was going to be on stage. I understand. Right shin bone, it's been underrated. Gently roll back onto the back body. Allow the right leg to stay up towards the sky. Take your hand around your right leg and gently kind of throw it from side to side, right? Just allow it to kind of open and close, but feel your hands catching it. And then release. Right foot onto the floor. Extend right leg, left leg up. Scoot hips up and over towards the left. Kick the left leg out and drop your left shin bone onto the stage. out of this, leave the left leg up and just kind of bounce it back and forth. I'll offer 2 poses next. Lower the left leg down. You can choose one of the 2 or do both. We'll be working towards our final resting pose, Shavasana. Some people experience plow pose in a very positive manner, and some people do not. Since we have the wall, it might be something nice for your feet to come to. If you are not in the boat for plow pose, that is fine. Understandable. I went through many years of not liking it myself. Come into Supta Baddha Konasana. That is a great place to be, and you can use your blocks as little pillows for underneath your knees. You can move to plow pose in any way, shape, fashion that you would like. If you would like to go to plow to shoulder stand, that's also an option. If you would like to go here to Padmasana, that's also an option. Or none of it. If you are in Padmasana, lower down and join anybody else in their Supta Baddha Konasana. Feel free to take this resting pose in Supta Baddha Konasana, or you can start to extend out. Take your blocks and rest your forearms onto the blocks down by the side, if that's something that's comfortable for you. Adjusting to wherever is a nice support system for your arms. They experienced and did a lot of maybe new things for you in your practice today. So being able to acknowledge, like, whoa, maybe this is all very new. Maybe there was some success. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe there was pockets of, wow, I didn't even know we were going there. That's exciting. All I hope is that you learned something. And attaching good and bad, that's may or may not be necessary. But did you learn something about yourself that was maybe not discovered yet? And if you didn't, that's still okay. If you don't even really know, fine. But you showed up with the courage to seek, wonder, question. Are there small nuances that I can change within my practice to help with the longevity? Did you realize that even so, when doing things like this, other things start to awaken? Maybe your forearms are really tired right now. Mine are. And that's okay. We are learning. It's been such an honor to practice with you. Please take as long as you need into this posture. We will have a small discussion here afterwards, but it will be a small video added on, so no need to worry. Take your time and revisit the small discussion whenever you feel up to it. Until next time, friends, be well.